Okay, Preston Toulon here from MCA Golf. Thanks for coming out, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's good to see you again.
Appreciate it. We're here with Mark Timms, CEO and founder of Cool Clubs, and today we want to talk about the brand new Tensei 1K Pro line in the blue option.
Yeah, long awaited for sure, Jack. The 1K Pro line, up until now, we launched blue about 2 weeks ago now, but up until this point, it had only existed in white and orange in the Pro line, both of which were low launch, low spin parts, the orange, of course, being counterbalanced. So you had one that was traditionally balanced, one that was counterbalanced, but they were both low launching, low spinning. And you guys know most golfers probably fit and launch or line up better in a mid-launch, mid-spin profile. So we really needed to bring that blue. 1K Pro has been such a successful line for us in terms of material, structure, innovation, all of that we always knew we needed to bring it to blue, but it's nice to finally have a 1K Pro profile in the blue in the mid-launch, mid-spin to fit kind of that widest swath of golfers.
Right. So the Tensei is like, what we talked about in our last podcast was the technology on the exterior. It's like really showing off and like experiencing new technologies and experimenting with new technologies, right?
Absolutely. So Mitsubishi Chemical Group, I mean, we make materials. We make raw materials. Golf shafts are just something we happen to make with them. So the golf shafts are a physical manifestation of some of the more abstract things we create. And we really make resin systems, pre-pregs, and carbon fiber. And Tensei, its name itself is Japanese for transformation. So anytime Tensei has a new iteration, think about going from CK to AB to 1K, from carbon Kevlar to aluminum vapor, now to 1K. Tensei is the only family, the only product line we have that uses the name of the material in the product name itself. We had Tensei carbon Kevlar, Tensei aluminum vapor, and now we have Tensei 1K. And as a company where material creation, material innovation is our kind of bedrock, Tensei is that family that kind of carries that material innovation further. That's not to suggest our other product lines don't have a ton of tech, because right now you're holding a Vanquish, and that's got a lot of tech in it. So I don't want it to come off like there's nothing in the other stuff we make, but Tensei is certainly kind of the shining city on a hill as far as technological innovation for our company.
And is the Tensei blue? It's the same material in the blue, white, and orange, just obviously different launch characteristics setups.
You'll see on occasion some materials slightly used differently, and some materials in one part of 1K, in one color of 1K, but not in the others. For example, tungsten is often used in our orange profiles to create that counterbalance in the handle, and then white to strengthen up the tip. We use a little bit of boron down there. With blue, we might use those same materials, but in slightly different places. So in general, yes, the material composition is largely the same, just different amounts in different places.
And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it's a Tensei blue, and I think everyone thinks of Mitsubishi and thinks blue board. Is that where you're going for in terms of?
And I think a blue board really is a kind of a standard EI, right? Pretty smooth all the way through, kind of mid-launching, mid-spin.
It's funny, Mark, because obviously blue board, it started with Diamana and it
right.
having a blue board, and then it became so popular and so well known, and it just entered the golf lexicon as a term that actually applies to any blue shaft. Really, from almost any manufacturer. You might hear one of our competitors call their shaft a blue board and then catch themselves because they realize they're using kind of a Mitsubishi term. But yeah, I mean, blue board is just, how can you make something that can appeal to the biggest group of golfers, most of which need a little bit of help getting the ball in the air, myself included. So yeah, it's pretty much anything pretty standard in terms of that EI curve and anything to help you launch it a little higher and spin it a little bit more.
So what would separate this? I think I've got Kai Lee down. Kai Lee, you say, is more for the stronger, more aggressive player. But what would separate this from let's say, the TB, which I think is like your blue board in the Diamana range right now, right?
For sure, yeah. Diamana TB, True Blue is what that acronym stands for. When you talk about Diamana, everything to do with Diamana is how can we make the best, most pleasing, smoothest feeling shafts imaginable. So Diamana TB, it's going to be a little bit softer than the Tensei 1K Pro Blue, because Diamana development is largely led by our Japanese engineers, who are largely designing more for a pro-Japanese demographic, who tend to gravitate towards liking something a little bit on the softer side. So in the Diamana line, you could always kind of count on it being slightly softer than the Tensei line. The Tensei line, which was developed entirely in the United States in terms of branding, marketing, and original structures, is still something the U.S. team largely leads with collaboration from our team and friends in Japan. But you will find a little bit firmer feeling for sure in Tensei 1K Pro Blue, slightly lower launch, slightly lower spin. It's honestly, it's the perfect kind of encapsulation of different strokes for different folks. We have several different ways, several different recipes we can use to build a blue board. And, Diamana TB is one, Tensei 1K Pro Blue is one, what you're holding Vanquish is one, and even Kylie Blue is one. So we're not a company that believes one shaft fits all. We believe if we're going to ask people to spend a lot of money on custom fit drivers, they should have as many options at their disposal to find the right one, absolutely, that they feel good about. And I know if I were to go in and get fit and be prepared to spend my cash on product, I for sure want to know I have the absolute right one, and I'm going to be willing to hit a bunch of products to find that one.
For sure. Sure. That really covered everything that I wanted to know about the 1K. I just wanted to see where it sat in the line, what the technology was behind it. And something that we're obviously going to probably run here at Cool Clubs is going to be more of the Vanquish line. I've got a bunch on it, but maybe if you go first, you'll clear up a few of my questions and we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which never happens.
Yeah, I thought for a second he was just going to end the interview and I was going to get out of here. But Vanquish is super cool. That one is led by the same engineers who developed Diamana. So immediately it has that lineage, that heritage, really, really talented people working on it, really, really special to the people who developed Diamana. And obviously the people who developed Diamana are some of the most talented shaft engineers in the world. But Vanquish, when you look back at the history of our company, the history of Mitsubishi Chemical in terms of producing golf shafts, everyone's the best at something. I would argue that Mitsubishi is probably the best at creating lightweight premium golf shafts. You think about Grand Bassar in the 29, 39 gram category. You think of just the non-Grand Bassar, just the standard Bassara family. We've had enormous success developing lightweight premium golf shafts. And that even gets into like fifth generation Diamana stuff like PD, TB, GT. Like we have ski ranges in those fifth generation Diamana parts that go all the way down to 40 R2 that, could very well end up competing with some other lightweight products. So we have a ton of faith, a ton of confidence in our ability to develop a lightweight golf shaft. With Vanquish, I think the coolest story from it, what I take away the most from it is Jack and Mark. If you hold on to that handle there, you'll find that it's so stable down at the handle side and so flexible down here at the tip. And what you'll find is what I always find interesting is this was actually developed with inspiration from high performance fly fishing rods, which are very, very popular in Japan, obviously in the United States as well. But if any of you have been fly fishing, you understand that you need to create a lot of stability down here for a lot of activity at the tip section to be able to cast that as far downstream or upstream as possible. And the way to create that speed at the bottom end of the shaft is to create a ton of stability down here. So you have a ton of tech tip side, a ton of full length material providing strength that is required because it creates such an active tip section that all it does is it creates just like this really, really steady feeling in the hands. And you're going to feel that massive, almost like whip-like acceleration at the tip side to create ball speed. And that's kind of the golden goose everybody's chasing right now.
Well, I saw there was a speed story, and it says Handle Tech, and I'm sorry if I get the name wrong, but Amorphous.
No, you nailed it. Yeah, amorphous wire technology. Okay. Yeah,
amorphous wire. So the amorphous wire is in the butt or the tip?
In the handle side, and really what it is, it's like vertical strips of amorphous wire running down all around the shaft. So circular, running all around the shaft. Exactly, running vertically. And then they're all spaced pretty evenly going all the way around the shaft. So it runs probably down to about where the V in Vanquish starts. But that's the material that, if you could imagine pulling down on it, when you have vertical strands of amorphous wire running parallel with the shaft, it's going to stand up to some of those stresses that are placed on it when you pull down.
We're lucky enough, we've got S3 machines.
Right.
I've run a few of these through, and they're very, very soft in the tip. We're talking about 12.
Really? Okay. That's great for a lot of people, especially with these new drivers that all none spin at all, right? If you don't have speed, to create spin, then you need that. So
and the torque story, obviously, these are quite high torque, relatively speaking.
Yeah, relative to most, right? When you get into the lighter weight category, obviously torque does tend to skew up a little bit higher. We do more and more studies that annually, every year, with multiple independent parties, multiple independent testers. We're learning a lot about torque. A lot of golfers need torque more than they know. And torque can be really helpful in terms of creating more workability, creating more spin, and also creating more launch. There are some golfers that absolutely need low torque, but with lightweight, when you kind of measure the demographics of the golfer who are going to be using them, torque tends to be the friend of those players more so, the really, really high swing speed, high ball speed players who are trying to kind of tie torque down as much as possible. So we encourage golfers to be less afraid of slightly higher torque values. Just hit it. I think you'll find it's quite playable. I've been playing the 5X and Vanquish for the last 3 or 4 months, and I've been really enjoying it. I'm about 105, 155. I'm not setting the world on fire in terms of speed, but it's been a ton of fun to use that shaft. I'll say that.
And the last point I had written down here is really, it kind of borders on fitting, and maybe Mark will throw some light on this too. But the Vanquish 4 or the Vanquish 5, the 4 is a lighter weight, 5 is a little heavier. But you go from a 4R2 through to a 4TX, and then a 5R2
really
through to a
4TX.
5TX. So really, what's the intention? Like, do you have a speed
And
range?
that's it, right? There's just 4s and 5s. There's nothing heavier than that. So it's really designed to be a lightweight.
Yeah. Really is a lightweight style shaft. But when you see a 4TX,
right?
Where's your brain
that's an odd one. Yeah. Who's that for?
Right. So maybe that is still you. That's you, Preston.
It's a fair question. 4R2 to 5TX, 4R2 to 4TX, and 5R2 to 5TX. So yes, Mark, only in 2 weight ranges, 4 and 5. But the interesting part about the development of Vanquish is there are enough shafts developed with input from PGA Tour players. All of them pretty much are developed with input from the PGA Tour players, all of whom swing it at speeds I'll only imagine, I'll never be able to reach, that are hard to create a relatable feeling for me. So when we went to develop Vanquish in conjunction with our team in Japan, we actually went to LPGA Tour players. So that shaft you're holding actually was first brought out to the LPGA Tour in 2021, and it was lasered LPGA prototype. So that shaft is literally developed with, I can't say their names exactly due to name, image, likeness things, but there are 5 or 6 players who absolutely have their fingerprints all over the development of that shaft on the LPGA Tour. And the LPGA Tour, when you think about the people who are walking into your fitting studio, into your fitting bays to try to find clubs that work for them, they're sure as heck, going to be swinging a lot closer to LPGA numbers than PGA Tour numbers. And that's not to dismiss one as being, like worse than the other. It's just, when you talk about speed and relatability, we should be spending a lot more time watching what LPGA Tour players use, how fast they're swinging it, how they think about their equipment, than these dudes hitting it 185 miles an hour. That's just not ever going to happen for me. It's likely not ever going to happen for Mark. Sorry, Jack. I've never played golf with you, but I'm guessing you're not taking the scales of 185. Yeah.
I'm going for a long drive. I'm going to skip the one where you have to hit the golf course.
That actually might be a good long drive shot. We've had some requests from long drive guys, but to finish my point, we have a friend in Canada. He's a very, very good player. He's qualified for the RBC Canadian Open on a handful of occasions, but he swings at like 118, 120. He took a 5TX and tipped it an inch, and he's like hammering it. He loves it. So it's like, while it wasn't necessarily designed for that, it's really cool to know it can hold up to that. It's a massively versatile product range, but it's honestly, Mark, it was designed to help golfers who are, you know, getting older and just losing speed naturally, but also like it can easily hold up to me. I had just turned 31 and I can swing it 105, and if I really go after 110, and you know, my brother who swings at 115, it can hold up to him too. So it does a lot, and it does a lot well.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense actually. I tell people all the time that we get in fittings and stuff. You really have to look at the LPGA tour for what they're playing, because they're much closer to what you know, the average customer we've got in.
Yeah,
and drivers 95 to 100 max, which is kind of what the LPGA tour is really these days.
There are too many people who try to make the game harder than it already is. You know,
right?
Like,
yeah, exactly.
golf's really, really hard. Forgiveness is really, really helpful. I'm not here to tell you what makes you happy. If you want to play blades, like play them. Sure, they're beautiful. They look great. If you hit them good, they feel great. But I don't like hitting a 7-iron and finding it going like 142. You know, like that's not that helpful. So we always encourage, or at least I always encourage, not I shouldn't speak for Mitsubishi Chemical in this respect, but if there is improvement available to you that as simple as just using the product, like I don't know why you wouldn't give it a shot.
Yeah. So just where would you push the 4TX to? Are you saying that someone can swing that 100 miles an hour? Or, I mean, where does that kind of cap out?
It's so player and swing dependent. You guys know that from all the fits you guys do. But I mean, 4TX, I'd feel absolutely comfortable recommending that to anyone swinging as high as 115. Yeah, definitely swinging 100 for sure. That you can make that work. Especially keep in mind that this is co-developed with our team in Japan, who designed things like slightly softer, you know, for that Japan market. So I wouldn't call this like significantly softer to flex. It's maybe a hair softer to flex. Like I'm playing a 5X. I played 5X in Tensei 1K Pro White too, and both worked just fine for me. So it's always hard to put exact, you know, swing speed ranges on it, but I would absolutely feel comfortable recommending a 4TX to anyone swinging 100 miles an hour for sure.
Yeah, I think as a fitter, it's something that over the years that I've been afraid of is like, I don't want to give someone who's swinging it hard a really lightweight golf shaft. One, because it very rarely occurs, but two, because you worry about breakage. But if you're confident they can put up with that kind of stuff, then that's very cool. It gives guys the ability to try and do some fun things with getting a really strong lofted head and making the golf shaft work hard for it, and all kinds of stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, at the, you know, I'm knocking on wood here, but we haven't had any issues so far in terms of breakage. It's been out in the market now for almost 6 months already. We launched it in January. I haven't seen any pictures on forums of unhappy golfers of breakage. I mean, if you look at that tip screen, the logo down at the tip side, you see precision crafted, and that indicates that it's within plus or minus 1 CPM and plus or minus 1 weight. These things are really, really expertly built. They all come out nearly identical. So we haven't had any issues in terms of breakage yet. If we do, we'll solve it swiftly. But up till this point, I'd feel pretty comfortable and confident recommending that to pretty much anyone with speed. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah, plus or minus 1 CPM, that's pretty good too.
Yeah,
we don't see a lot of shafts to do that. So
it's an ambitious goal, and it's painstaking to do it, but it's certainly a labor of love.
Yeah, I'd probably call that equivalent to in steel shafts, keeping it within a quarter gram. Basically, 1 CPM is not much, right? So, you know, basically 5 grams is about half a flex in steel. Yeah, for the most part, and 1 CPM is a tenth of a flex. Yeah. So yeah, you know, in our math anyway. I'm sure you guys are on the same page there.
I would defer to your expertise pretty much on anything to do with any piece of golf equipment, Mark.
That might be a stretch.
Very nice. Well, thank you. We look forward to getting this in some players' hands, especially I want to see what it does and get some guys hitting it at all different speeds. So
absolutely,
really appreciate your time today. Thank you, man.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys. I'm always happy to come on, and please let me know if you get any questions, or if any of your customers have any questions. You're always welcome to forward them to me too. I'm happy to provide any answers for any golfers out there. I'm a golfer. I like talking to golfers anyway. So please let me know if I can ever help you guys too.
Appreciate that.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.